Tonight we're going to get into area, squares, and square roots. So we're kind of diving into geometry. So first we talked about patterns, and then we went into fractions, and now we're kind of getting a little splash of geometry. But it also involves algebra as well. So let's go ahead and write your title on the right-hand side, area, squares, and square roots. And go ahead and copy down these shapes. So first we have a rectangle, and then we have two squares. The first rectangle is 2 inches by 4 inches. So remember, area is the space something takes up, like the flat space that something takes up. And so really you could count your boxes and get your area, but the formula for area is area equals length times width. And so I'm going to have area equals 4 inches times 2 inches. And so the area for that rectangle is going to be 8 inches squared. And remember, you need to put your label with your value. So that's the area for that rectangle. For squares, it is length times width, but sometimes you're going to see a formula that looks like this for squares. Area equals side squared, because each of the sides are the same. So all you have to do is do this. Area equals 2 squared. And this is an exponent here. And so all that means is you're doing 2 times itself 2 times. So you're going to go 2 times 2. And that would give us 4 inches squared. Let's look at the next one. So you have area equals 3 squared. And so I'm going to really have 3 times itself twice. So 3 times 3. So I have 9 inches squared. So that's how you find the area of an object. Let's say you had the area and you wanted to find the 2 sides of a square. So what if they told us that the area of a square is 9 inches squared? And they go, what's the side length? The way you do that is you find the square root. And the symbol that is the square root looks like this. So you're really doing what number times itself. So let's write that down. What number times itself equals 9. And so in this case, it would be 3 inches, because 3 times 3 gives you 9. So the square root is just asking that simple question of what number times itself equals the number inside the square root. Let's move on. So let's break apart something with the exponents. So let's say we have a power like this, 7 to the second. This whole thing is called a power. That includes this number and this number. Then when you break it apart, the number right here is called the base number. And then the number right here is called the exponent. And when you write it like this, it's called exponential form. So that is exponential form. And we talked about square roots. One thing I want to talk about with squares, or I'm sorry, using powers, is fractions. Let's say you have 2/3 squared. And you start freaking out because you're like, oh my gosh, fractions. All that means is you're going to do 2 squared and 3 squared. You just need to make sure that you apply it to the top and the bottom. So you would get 4/9. So that's how you do a square when you're dealing with fractions. Some other things that might come up would be doing a square root of fractions. So let's say we had something like, let's try the 4/9 again. And they have this big square root over it. Really all you're doing is doing the square root of 4 over the square root of 9. And you go, what number times itself gives me 4? 2. What number times itself gives me 9? 3. And that would be the answer. So tomorrow you're going to jump into, actually Thursday, you'll jump into doing square roots and working on that. Another thing that you might talk about is, let's go ahead and turn the page, is something called cubes. And you'll get into that with your when you get into the volume section. So just know that cubes will go into the volume section, which is our next section. So get ready for that. Okay, have a good night.